Hey, this is Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John. That's Richard.
Hi, John. How you doing?
I am doing okay. We've got lots going on this week. Huge changes at Marvel and DC. What does it mean to you as a fan? Our hot book of the week, viewer mail, underrated books of the week, the return of the 25-year rule, and so much more. But first, are you following us on Facebook and Instagram? You should be. It's at Bronze and Modern Gods. And please give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube if you're watching us there. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, we love reviews. They make Richard's day/week. So please leave us a review. And let's get right into it, Richard, with our hot book of the week. Who saw this one coming? Not me.
Okay. First of all, we kind of have to throw up the spoiler alert, don't we?
I think we do. Spoiler alert, look in the description if you want to skip this part. There are minor spoilers for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so skip ahead in the description if you like. But the hot book of the week is Machine Man number 7 / Captain America number 230. These are the first appearances of the Power Broker. Who is the Power Broker? We heard him mentioned in this week's episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. In Machine Man number 7, he's introduced in a couple of panels. It's almost like a Dark Side cameo intro. His name is Curtis Jackson. He got to start working for the mysterious organization known as the Corporation. Ooh. His first scheme was to kidnap Machine Man and make copies of Machine Man and then sell them to the highest bidders, no matter who they were. Now, he later appeared in a crossover with Captain America and the Hulk, where the Corporation got involved in more shady deals. He later pivoted to begin giving super strength to would-be super wrestlers and heroes under the name of the Power Broker, because he could give you superpowers if you didn't have them, at least super strength. Some of these people who he gave enhanced strength to include names like, John Walker, Lamar Hoskins. You may know them better as the new Captain America and Battlestar. People went nuts this week. Machine Man number 7 exploded overnight. High-grade copies went from $2 to $50. Captain America 230 is heating up too, anywhere from $30 to $100, depending on where you get it. But Machine Man 7 and 8 are definitely the first appearance and first full appearance of the man known as the Power Broker.
Yeah, this is interesting. Why do you think people are splitting their interest between Machine Man 7 and Captain America 230? Isn't there a clear winner for this?
There's 100% a clear winner. Machine Man 7 and 8. I think it's what was he calling himself? He calls himself the Power Broker later on. He calls himself Curtis Jackson of the Corporation in Machine Man 7 and 8. So that may be where the hairs are splitting, but Cap 230 came later. Actually, Cap 230 and Hulk, I believe 235 and 234, they kind of wrapped up a lot of the dangling plot lines when Machine Man was canceled with issue 9. Jack Kirby left to go do animation. Machine Man was selling pretty well, and Marvel wanted to keep it going, but they had to get a new creative team lined up, which ended up being Marv Wolfman and Steve Ditko. But it took them a good 6 months to a year to make that relaunch. So they had to resolve all these dangling plot lines, and that's where it kind of shifted into this Captain America and Hulk crossover. So I'm telling you, I'm having a great time with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I see all these Kirby creations and random Captain America Mark Gruenwald characters popping up. I'm in hog heaven.
Oh, it's been great so far. And it's typical Marvel, Kevin Feige, where the characters are super important. The action happens to the characters, not the characters invoke the action. It's amazing. And so far it's followed their normal pattern, and I could see it building in the normal way. And I think we all kind of know how this series is going to end, but it's the journey that I think that we're going to enjoy.
Yeah, I already see little hints of the real John Walker starting to surface.
Yes, exactly.
I want to see this happen. I don't have very good feelings about his girlfriend or wife or wherever she is. I hope she got paid well.
Yeah, I don't expect her to see her in another movie. Definitely.
No, I think she may only be on this series for a couple of episodes, but we'll stay tuned along with you guys and see what happens. Meanwhile, Machine Man 7 and 8 hit the dollar bins. You'll find them. They're still out there. All right, time for viewer mail.
You've got mail.
And speaking of Mark Grunwald, this is my favorite comment, maybe of the year so far. And it's from Comics Watching. First of all, look at his avatar. Yay. And he writes, hey, I'm a recent subscriber and I've been watching through your back catalog. I'm so happy you appreciate and shine some light onto the most underrated series ever, Quasar. Quasar is one of my favorite series and characters, and Mark Grunwald is my all-time favorite writer. Me too. People are missing out on Quaz, man. That series is amazing. I have the whole run, including the elusive issues 32 through 34 that are numbered 1 through 3. Thanks for this. You're welcome. I agree. You have never read Quasar. What's wrong with you? There's a couple of trades out there. What he's referring to with issues 32, 33, and 34. At that point, the book was direct sales only, but this was part of Operation Galactic Storm, so they had to put it out for newsstand people so they didn't miss these important chapters. So they actually renumbered them 1 through 3, Quasar Special Edition 1 through 3, and those are newsstand versions, and they're very tough to find. I have them along with Comics Watching, but if you find them, grab them.
So is 34 the last issue for that series?
No, it ran to issue 60. It ran a good 5 years. So it's great. You know, the art, you've got Greg Capullo for a nice long run. And then you got Andy Smith doing his best Bart Sears imitation. And then you're reading it for the story after that.
That bad, huh?
I kind of like people like John Hebink that have this really goofy, almost fanish style. It doesn't bug me, but you know, when you're talking 1993 and you're competing with Image and Flash and Spectacle, straightforward Don Perlin like storytelling is not going to move me.
Okay, got it. My viewer mail today, I am going to try so very hard not to butcher this
I feel for you. Go for it.
Gavroche Thénardier. I'm going to attempt to say that. If I got even close, please leave a comment and let me know.
I'm impressed.
What do you guys think of Ultimate Fallout 4 second print, the Pichelli variant? To me, that cover is by far the best cover, and the close-up mask reveal of Miles is just stunning. I think that book is severely undervalued. I also noticed that very few people are selling their 9.8 copies. Yeah, this is an interesting one. For those who don't know, there were 2 different covers for the second print for Ultimate Fallout number 4. There was the original cover that had basically it was the same cover for the first print, but with Miles' face revealed. And then there's a second Pichelli cover, which has a white background, and it basically has a panel from Ultimate Fallout where Miles removes his mask, and they made that piece of art the cover work for this book. And I kind of agree with you. It is a potentially better cover than the cover that's basically a clone of the first print. But for some reason, people, and I think it's because it is so reminiscent of that first print, people gravitate towards the other cover more than they do to the Pichelli cover, and it is harder to come by those Pichelli variants than it is the other. Is this going to be a long-term thing? I think eventually all covers for Ultimate Fallout, whether they're the one variant or the other second print, are going to have value, and we see that already. We see the value of these books going up. I think over time, the differentiation in price between the two is going to disappear, and people are going to they're going to take whatever covers they have available to them. Me personally, I have to go with the Mark Bagley cover. It's a clone of the original, but it reveals his face. So right. It's kind of like a second part of the original artwork, 1 second later where you see his face. And I think that image becomes synonymous with Ultimate Fallout 4 more so than the Pichelli white variant. So
I should know this. Is the Pichelli a ratio?
No, it is not. It is they, for some reason, and I do not know the specifics, they printed 2 second prints for this book.
Wow.
the ratio between which, how many of the Mark Bagley version versus the Pichelli version, I really don't know at this point.
Mhm.
But yeah, neither one of them are ratios.
So it's like an A/B situation, like DC does all the time. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's interesting they did two different, and they didn't do the normal, the blue label and all that stuff
Mm.
that Marvel tends to do to indicate second prints. This was, I think, they recognized the significance of this cover, and they made that leap from the in shadow to just revealing his face.
Well, thanks everybody for all the comments. If you want to leave us comments, we read them here. You see it every week, so please do so. And a lot of comments last week, people missing the 25-year rule. We won't do that to you again, because guess what? It's time for the 25-year rule. Hey, 1996, we're back, and it is Marvel Last Issue Palooza, this ongoing series of Marvel killing their long-running series for the reboot of Heroes Reborn continues with this week's book, Iron Man 332. The last issue of the original Iron Man run. This is also the end of the infamous Teen Tony run, which fell out of the whole Crossing crossover for the Avengers books. Oh, man, this is painful to remember. We saw Tony Stark replaced with a younger 16-year-old version of himself. But, older Tony rips out Teen Tony's heart at one point. So it all works out in the end. I'm not kidding. I wish I was joking.
This K, I was not reading Iron Man at this point, so...
I don't think anyone was. And that was the problem. That was the problem. This Crossing storyline is so reviled. They never really worried about resolving Teen Tony when they rebooted Iron Man again, except for a few lines in an Avengers annual where basically Tony says, "Oh yeah, I'm back. I remember everything that happened, including trying to kill you guys." That's got to be awkward. So, I like going to work with a guy who tried to kill me a few years ago and just pretending it never happened. Maybe that's for the best. This book is not expensive. Frankly, I don't think it should be. The last sale in February was $50 for a 9.8. It is a last issue. I love last issues. I do have one. I just love collecting last issues. There.
So what in the reboot? What was the storyline for the reboot?
Well, they did Heroes Reborn, so Jim Lee and Will Spartaccio took over Iron Man for a year, and then it went back into the Marvel Universe. They started this great run by Kurt Busiek and Sean Chen. They didn't even address it. It didn't happen. He came back from Onslaught. He's back to being Tony. He came back from the Pocket Universe from Onslaught. He's back to being adult Tony. Teen Tony was never mentioned, never brought up again. It was literally like, okay, this did not happen until that Avengers annual where Kurt Busiek wrote a couple lines like, oh yeah, when I went to the Pocket Universe, all that got erased, but I still remember everything. I don't know if it's a good idea from him to remember everything, but okay. So yeah, boy, you guys remember Teen Tony? How painful that was? Please let us know in the comments if you liked it. I'm curious.
I have not seen in the show notes. I have not seen the word reviled used before.
I'm proud to use the word reviled. And now it's time for our main topic this week, which is all these changes going on with Marvel and DC. You've got price increases, you've got distribution changes, but we're fans, we're collectors. What does it all mean for us? Does it mean anything? Will we see any changes? We're going to find out right now. But first, we've got a special guest, right, Rich?
That's right. We've got our DC Comics correspondent, Evan.
I love that. Let's welcome him right now. There he is.
Hey.
Oh,
all right.
Breaking news.
I'm ready. I'm prepped.
Breaking news flash. Get it?
Oh.
Cheers.
How are you guys doing?
We're confused, but I think we can untangle all this because a lot happened this week.
Yeah.
And it's all under the engine, under the hood kind of stuff that we need to break down for people. So, Richard, why don't you start peppering Evan with DC related questions?
Yeah, last week we saw several DC titles like Batman and Joker increase their prices to $5.99 for a 40-page story. I mean, how is that going to affect, you as a reader and a collector?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I remember when Marvel moved to $4.99, I cringed, right? Because I get a lot of books every week, and so that was kind of crazy. And then I hear $6 books. That's even worse. The more I think about it, the more I think if the quality is there, I would much prefer that over quantity. So what I mean by that is if you're going to give me a good Detective Comics, Wonder Woman, Superman, Action Comics, any number of books that are going to be $6, but they're bigger and there's more content, but the content is better, I would much rather have that than a Man-Bat series and a Ragman series and a Zatanna series and like all these cursory characters getting runs that fail miserably because no one's buying them because they're not flagship characters. So as long as you're giving me the good stuff, we'll talk Future State, for instance. I was concerned about Future State. Most of it was pretty good. I have to say, there wasn't a ton of books, so it wasn't hard to get through them. But for the most part, a lot of it was really good. And some of it was like I wasn't a big fan of the Supergirl book and some other things. But again, as long as the quality is there, I'm willing to pay for that because honestly, my spend has not gone up week per week. In fact, it's gone down a little bit since DC's kind of started shuffling things around. So if they move to $6, it's going to go back to where it was before. I won't really notice the difference. I'll just be paying for the books that I want instead of all these side series that could or could not make it, and who knows, and you have to take chances. And as somebody who spends as much as I do, I'm not willing to take a whole lot of chances like that.
But that's how you find new books, right? I mean, if all they ever do is Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, and then Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, it's going to stagnate. You need fresh blood to interject new storylines. And the only way you do that is by taking a chance on a character and a title and then bringing that character into the stories, right? So I'm afraid that we're going to see a stagnation for DC because it's just going to be the Holy Trinity and maybe Flash and things like that.
Right.
That's my primary concern.
Yeah, I think people were worried about that a little bit when Marvel decided to do 2 books a month on some of their titles, right? Everybody was like, oh my God, we're going to have all these X-Men books and we're going to have 17 Spider-Man books that are 2 times a month. That never turned out to be a problem for them. In fact, people are buying those books as much as they ever have before. To your point, though, here's what I would do if I were DC. If you wanted to do that where you want to have people take a chance, you do a 1 or 2 shot book instead of trying to release a whole series of books based on a character that no one may ever care about. I would buy a Man-Bat one-shot or a Zatanna one-shot or whatever. And if it hits and it sells well, then you start playing around the idea of maybe a limited series or a limited run, and then maybe she gets her own series after a while. You can work around what you're talking about. But for the meat and potatoes, the main books, I don't really have a problem with bigger books for more money as long as they're good. As long as the art is solid and the stories are good, I'm in.
It really reminds me of us old timers, our long haulers here, the infamous DC explosion / implosion of 1978, when DC decided all their books were going to go from 35 cents to 50 cents, but you're going to get an 8-page new story as a backup. So people like Hawkman, The Atom, people that didn't have their books at that time had a place to live in the backups of these major books like Action Comics or Batman and things like that. Well, 4 months later, Warner Communications from down high in a bad winter blizzard killed those plans, and it became the DC implosion. All the books went back to 40 cents, 32 pages. 40 pages a story up from 25 is pretty hefty. And a lot are getting backups now, just like back in 1978.
They sure are.
That's where you're going to get your Ragman, your Creeper, the things that can't carry a title. Plus, there's a lot of underlying rumors and buzz that they're bringing back the anthology, the good old-fashioned anthology title like Adventure Comics and things like that, they never do well in the direct market.
Yep.
They traditionally flop. I don't know why they think it's going to be different this time if they go for it. But if nobody, if these mid-tier characters don't have a home except for an anthology, and you are the world's biggest Hawk and Dove fan, this is the only place to get your picks. You might have to settle for the anthology.
Yeah, but I don't mind the backup stories. There's been a couple of good ones in some of the latest issues that I've gotten, Action Comics and Detective Comics, for example. So again, solid writing, good art, like that. If you can give me those two things, we're good. If you're going to give me 40 pages of crappy art and horrible storylines, then because that's the risk, and that's kind of what Rich is getting at. If you're going to move down from, like, and I'm speaking hypothetical numbers, 100 books to 20 books, if one of those is bad, that's a 1/20th of your catalog. That's pretty significant.
It's such a 180 from their strategy. Was it 10 years ago at this point? The New 52.
The New 52, yeah.
Right.
We're going to do 52 titles. We're going to cover, and Hawk and Dove are going to get their own title.
That's right.
OMAC. And, we saw what happened with that approach. So this is really the absolute reverse of that. The other surprising announcement, at least to me, was the Jim Lee announcement. Did you guys see?
Oh, yeah. The new Kevin Feige of DC. Yeah.
All the rumors that Jim Lee was out. Boy, they really quashed that, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. I think that's good for them. And some of the things he's saying are the kinds of things that I want to be hearing, like our media are all going to start to align, look kind of like Marvel. So their movies and their TV shows are all going to have some interplay, that's what they needed. That whole commentary about these movies are all independent and have no cross storylines, that makes no sense.
But will there be lighting?
Are we Snyder hating already? It's very early in the conversation.
I want to see what's going on.
It's called Batman with flashlights.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned that, because one of the things that Lee said, which if you read through between the lines is very interesting, he said all of our movies and TV shows will now interplay from now on, which is a real interesting thing to say, because that does not sound like Snyderverse is going anywhere anymore. So,
right.
Well, we kind of figured that. I think the Snyderverse was an alternate kind of version of the original movie. So I really don't see necessarily it continuing. Although, do we want to talk Snyderverse? Do we want to talk the Snyder Cut?
We've got Evan. I would say without spoilers, as much as you can, Evan. Yeah. You've watched the whole thing. Richard, you've watched a quarter of it. I've watched the trailer. Tell us what you thought of it.
So anytime you hear extended cut, director's cut, whatever, the basis of the movie feels the same with some added stuff. The Snyder Cut of Justice League is a completely different film in almost every way. The storylines are vastly different. The focus on the characters is very different. That slapsticky Marvel comedy stuff that Whedon peppered through with Aquaman sitting on the rope or the lasso, and Flash falling on Wonder Woman, and all of those things are gone. Not to say that all of the humor is gone, but all of that stuff is gone. And characters are very different. So Aquaman gets a lot more. You get to know a lot more about all the characters. You get a lot more of Aquaman. Flash couldn't possibly be a more different character in the Snyder movie than he is in the Whedonverse. He's sharp, awesome, fun. There's some great Flash moments. I don't want to give anything away. The ending is very big for the Flash. The Superman's resurrection is a completely different feel, and he doesn't go from not remembering who he is to everything's back. There's like a couple moments where he has to like get it together. There's another character in the Justice League who's in the Snyder movie that isn't in the Whedon movie. It's great. I got to tell you, they could have split it up into two movies. There's a moment where you could tell they probably could have cut it into two. But for me, we watched it over 2 nights. And so I didn't force myself through it. Didn't have any problem with that. And it's It's everything that movie should have been. And everybody deservedly is bashing Whedon's version on the internet because it's couldn't possibly be a more inferior movie than the Snyder version.
Well, I will watch it. I watched Wonder Woman 84. I can watch this.
Yeah, this is better than Wonder Woman 84. I can tell. I can say that with a lot of confidence.
I didn't hate Wonder Woman 84 as we discussed, but
yeah,
could have been.
No,
better.
it's so far. I'm only a quarter through the movie. That's an hour for you people. It's over 4 hours for this freaking movie. I can't say it is completely different. It's a different feel, different vibe than the Whedon version. But I think this movie exists only because of the situation we've been in the past year. There's no way a 4.5 hour movie could have made it to the theater. It's just not going to happen. So it is definitely a movie of our current situation, and you had the opportunity to watch over in several days. So I'm so far I'm grateful that we have an opportunity to see it. I'm grateful that it exists because the original version was pretty weak.
Oh, it's pretty bad.
When you say a 4.5 hour movie could not exist in theaters, I believe Andy Warhol and Yoko Ono would like word with you.
or Gone with the Wind, you know.
Yeah. Or the Lord of the Rings marathons or any of those other things.
Godfather.
I will say this: this is a very cool. Several times this has happened. Now you got to give a lot of credit to the fans because if there wasn't that drumming of support for the Snyder Cut, Deadpool. We wouldn't have Deadpool without it. Mm-hmm. The Sonic the Hedgehog redo of the graphics. Right. I took my son to see that movie, and it is a lot of fun, and the character looks great. That original version of Sonic is terrifying. Yeah. Terrifying. And now the Snyder Cut. So thank you to the fans who pushed as hard as they did to get this thing done because they earned it. It's totally worth it. It's really good stuff.
That's good to hear. So you're not going to cut back on your DC. You're taking a wait and see approach, right?
No, I'm going to keep buying the books I buy. I'm just going to pay $6 now. And I will now no longer have books to ignore because they're cutting down on the number of catalog they have. Because trust me, I walk through just like I always have ever since I was 15 years old. And I look at every single title and I breeze past most of them because they don't appeal to me. So I don't think I'm going to be missing anything, but I think Rich has a really good point, and I think DC should listen. If you want to do like one shots, or if you find that people are really digging some of the B stories characters, then do a limited series and then a limited run, and then you can do a full-blown book with those people instead of diving in full blast with, like I said, a Man-Bat series, which like 5 guys want right now. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to stick to what I've been doing all along. And as long as the quality is there, I'm in.
You can have a Justice League Dark series with a Zatanna backup, stuff like, or Dr. Fate backup. You can do all these. Speaking of Dr. Fate,
James Bond Fate.
What do you think?
Oh, I am so excited. So excited. Yes, I am. We're talking about the fact that Dr. Fate has been announced as a character in the new Black Adam movie. And the person playing Dr. Fate is Pierce Brosnan.
Right.
So I have 2 takes on this. One, this could be awesome. Or this could be campy and a piece
So I'm personally looking forward to the on-screen actors, The Rock and Pierce Brosnan interacting with one another, because I'm pretty sure that would never happen in a million years outside of this film.
And they're both, when you talk about actors that generate an environment around them, Pierce Brosnan, as he was my absolute favorite 007. For years after he finished, there was contractual reasons why he didn't go to play 007. He finally got an opportunity to.
Remington Steele.
Remington Steele, right. Awesome. And then you got The Rock. The Rock kind of is the movie when he's in a movie, and things kind of fit around him. He kind of is like his own gravity in terms of presence. So you're going to get these two, really strong presence kind of actors portraying, the good and the bad, I'm assuming, or, opposite sides, because neither one of them are going to be necessarily good or bad. It's going to be, it could be amazing. But, but it all depends on the writing and the direction, because you could very easily try to force this into a mold that DC wants to make a certain kind of buddy movie, for example, or, if you try to shoehorn those two actors into a set of roles that don't fit them, it could be a terrible movie.
Yeah, but if it feels like Shazam, because I think Shazam had the right level of camp. Great movie. I was there with my wife, a guy next to me and his son. They were having a blast. Like, that movie was a lot of fun, and it didn't go over the top with the camp level, because it could have really gone silly real quick. But I think that if they can hit that level, I think they'll be onto something. I
think if they announce that the kid who plays teenager Rock from Young Rock is being cast as young Black Adam, then we have some problems. I think that
would be funny.
That's when we can sound the alarm.
So the interesting thing about Fate, and for those of you who are out there speculating, More Than Fun Comics number 55, that's Fate's first appearance. Was it 1940?
More Fun Comics 55, very affordable, under the radar book.
Right, sure.
Lots of 9.8s out there.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say that Dr. Fate, to me, has always been one of the most visually awesome. That helmet is iconic.
Yes.
Never had anything like that anywhere in the comics. It showed up once or twice on the Stargirl, the CW Stargirl show, which is also very good, but there wasn't a Dr. Fate. She just has the helmet. Mm-hmm. So to see that live in action, that costume is going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Seriously, though, if you are doing a little bit of spec on Dr. Fate, there is an issue of First Issue Special, which was a tryout series from the 70s, which is the first ever solo Dr. Fate title. It was done by Walt Simonson, and it's still relatively inexpensive today. We'll see what happens after this goes live. But it is the first modern solo Dr. Fate.
Yep. Yeah. He's a character, I think, who has so much history and so much depth to them. It could be done so well. I could see a spin-off, movie for Dr. Fate.
They have to tread carefully, because it could really come off as a ripoff of Doctor Strange, which would be sad, because Dr. Fate was actually first.
Right.
But whoever made it first on the screen tends to win, unfortunately.
Right, but Fate has the layers. You've got the helmet, which has all the former Fates that talk to him on a constant basis, and there's a whole ton of
chaos
stuff
versus order, all that cosmic stuff on a more cosmic scale than Doctor Strange.
The Egyptian feel, the Ankh symbols everywhere, and I mean, there's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
Inga, don't forget about Inga.
Inga, correct. Yep. And then there's the modern Dr. Fates too. There's the one from isn't there one in Legion of Superheroes these days? And then there's the younger one who's now traipsing through, and forgive me, I can't remember his name. That's coming through DC these days. So it's a continuous story. They could do him in a bunch of different ways.
Sure.
You got your gritty 90s Hand of Fate, Dr. Fate, with the leather jacket.
Right. Did it have spikes and pouches?
Meanwhile, Marvel has announced they're moving away from Diamond Distribution to Random House Penguin, of all people.
How would you like to be Diamond right now?
Yeah.
My God.
They're going to handle their direct market distribution. Now, what does this mean? This means that your retailer, your local LCS, now has a choice. They can continue ordering from Diamond, who will now act as a wholesaler for Random House, or they can order directly from Random House. Now, some retailers have real loyalty to Diamond and Steve Geppi, and they're not going to move. I've seen a lot of chatter online from retailers saying, I'm not moving. I'm going to stay where I'm at. All right, here's what you're going to miss if you stay put. The good news for retailers, most retailers, is that Random House offers a flat 50% discount to everyone, every retailer. Now, right now, Diamond has a sliding scale. The smaller retailers get about 35% off. The bigger Midtown Comics, Mile High Comics, people that order tons of volume, they get up to 59% off. That's going away. So the big boys are not happy. The smaller retailers are happy. It gets even better. Random House offers free freight, free shipping to retailers.
Oh,
you don't
man,
even
that is incredible.
That's a good 3 or 4 points to their margin that they're getting back. So they're actually looking at a 53%, 54% discount when you add everything up all together. Diamond really has its work cut out for them now when it comes to competing. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. They still have Image locked in for a few years. They still have Dynamite, IDW, a few other Boom Studios. They're locked into exclusive agreements with Diamond. They can't go anywhere yet. Who does not have an agreement with Diamond right now?
DC. So do you think that sometime in the future you could see DC moving from Lunar to Random House?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I don't think they're married to him, right?
They're absolutely not. The Lunar thing was a patch. They were moving away from Diamond, and Lunar and the other distributor that I'm blanking on, Things from Another World, their parent company. That was a temporary patch while DC shook out and decided what they were going to do with all their layoffs and everything. It's really possible because what's different here is Random House and Penguin has nothing to do with Disney. If it was a Disney-owned distribution company, there's no way Warner would allow DC to have that kind of cross-pollination. That's not the case here, so there's no conflict. So I don't know why not.
That would be really interesting because Random House is a big name. I mean, if you go to a guy on the street and you say, "Hey, do you know who Diamond is?" But if you say, "Do you know who Random House is?" Like, that's a pretty big piece of muscle. And if they could get Marvel and DC, I could easily see Image and Dynamite and all the smaller guys jump ship too.
It's funny you say that because Random House distributes everywhere.
Yeah.
Every bookseller uses Random House distribution. So what does this mean? It means comics might be coming back to the newsstand.
Wow, that would be an interesting development. You know, what kind of comics speaking hypothetically, what do you think would end up on newsstands? It's not going to be everything. So would there big titles or special prints specifically for newsstands? Or
if I'm blue skying it, this is really the opportunity for Marvel or DC to put together a magazine, a big, hefty $7.95, $8.95, 100-page, full-color, full-bleed magazine anthology. Now, I know fans say that all the time, that, if they only did this, they'd get the kids back. If they only did this, they'd get the kids back. It depends on what they pick to put in it. Don't try the Marvel Adventures kids stuff. Kids, when you were a kid, did you read the kids' books?
No, of course not. Of course
no
not.
one reads the kids' books. Go with what you know. Get Wolverine in there. Make it bloody. Gore. Have him ripping guts out. Kids love that. I'm being halfway facetious here.
No, yeah.
But it could possibly be a big thing. Now, what I'm curious about is if they start differentiating between the newsstand and the direct books. There's really no need to do that with one distributor. So you're not going to have that, this is the newsstand variant, you got to go with that. They're all going to be pretty much the same if this happens.
Yeah, but if you're DC and you're limiting your catalog already and you're already juiced to do 40-page books at $6 and you have your Action Comics and your Batman and your Detective Comics, you take those to the newsstands. Those are your big names. They might be positioned to just do that right off the rip.
We might see the return of the digest. Who knows?
Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh,
wow. It does open up all kinds of new and interesting ways of marketing and selling books.
Yeah, I'm a little confused at some of the negative reaction online to this. I guess it's people that are just, afraid of change. They don't want to deal with more than one
complexity.
Yeah, but guess what? Bookstores deal with several distributors. Record stores deal with several distributors. This is a normal thing for retail. I like to joke that comic book retailers are finally moving into the 90s.
But if you think about it, if you had a good run, 20 years or something of just having to deal with one distributor for all your goodies, like that's one less nightmare to deal with. And I get all that. But if you can benefit from multiples, monetarily, why would you, outside of just being lazy, why would that bother you?
Monopolies are busted up for a reason, because they have a monopoly on the market. That is no longer the case. We are back to the days of Capital City, Diamond, Random House, Heroes World. Now, how is this different than Heroes World? That big debacle in the 90s when Marvel decided they were going to distribute their own books, and they bought a little distributor named Heroes World. The difference here, Random House is everywhere, drop shipments everywhere, huge experience doing this. They are staffed up to do this. Heroes World was not. It was a little regional New York Northeast distributor. And when they got this gig, instead of building a new warehouse and putting all that money and funneling it into resources and people and hiring, they scrambled. They scrambled too quickly, or not quickly enough. They scrambled too slowly and really screwed up. That is the main difference here. I really think the positives far outweigh the negatives here.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the name Random House, I mean, I know that name. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, these are people who know what they're doing. And getting back to the newsstand conversation for just a second, that's how I got into comics. I had my paper route money. I was at 7-Eleven getting a Slurpee. I look over, X-Men 133. Mm-hmm. Who's Wolverine? Bought it. That was the entrance to comic books for me, right? There it is. Wolverine lashes out. I don't even have to look. I could probably recite the entire book.
Evan, you're so young. Look at X-Men 133.
I was like,
I was in college when this came out.
I know.
I was like 13, 14. But my point is, like, I didn't walk into a comic book store as a child. Like, that's not how I started. So I think going into stores like that, Walmart, corner stores, whatever, do it, because that's how you get the kids. I mean, they're not walking into comic book stores right off the gate.
You got to convince them with the higher price point. And guess what DC has now? A higher price point. Will they sell? Look at Walmart, the 3-packs. They fly out at $8.99, except for the Captain Marvel ones. But they fly out at $8.99. Yeah. So if there's an $8.99 anthology, I'm telling you, if it was ever going to work, if you want to put the anthology argument to rest forever, now's the time to try it and see it fail. Then you can tell everybody just to shut up about the newsstand anthologies already.
If you get Wonder Woman at $6, you put it in a corner store. Some little girl picks it up. She reads the book, and in the back is the backstory for Yara Flor, who is a new character. She's Brazilian. There's your diversity play. And she falls in love with that character. That's where you get. They're not going to go to us. Like, I don't look at Yara Flor and go, oh my God, I want to be just like her when I grow up. Like, we're not the target for that, right?
They better not be using us as that's the kiss of death. The main challenge you have here with your example, which is a great one, $6.99. Mom looks at it and goes, $6.99 for a funny book? You've got to be out of your mind. I remember when they were 12 cents.
Oh no!
Yes.
You, at $6.99, you start. You could buy a novel. A 300 and some odd page novel for less than this 40-page comic book. So you've got to have a compelling reason that's going to sell that book, as opposed to them spending money on something else.
It's got to be hefty. It's got to be 100-pager, square bound, full bleed, full color, the whole shebang. Reprints are fine. People haven't seen these books before. Go for it.
Oh yeah.
Or dual track. You do that. You also do a cheapo newsprint digest version. I don't know if I'd go newsprint. I would still try to do full bleed and some sort of glossy stock.
Or if you took Action Comics and Detective Comics for the month and put them together, that's 80 pages.
Yep.
That's just 2 books. I mean, you do the
80-page giant.
There you go. Exactly. The 80-page giant. And then, and I got to tell you, as the father of a little boy, if we're in line at the grocery store and he starts chirping, sometimes I say no, but sometimes I say yes. So
those spots by the register are super competitive. They pay to be there. It's co-op. It's not, done out of the goodness of a retailer's heart. Archie has a stranglehold on those slots when it comes to digests. They've been paying for them for years. So that's a challenge. I think just getting them even to the few Barnes and Nobles that are left, getting comics back there.
Books a Million, right?
Yeah.
Right,
Book Hall, half price books, new books in these stores that exist already to carry things like this. I think that's the one step they can take.
Or even convenience stores. That, like I said, 7-Eleven, that's where I got mine. I mean, they don't have to go into the big box stores. You can look at the mom and pop corner stores. And again, it's Random House, so they probably have those numbers and the ability to move books into those locations. So
yeah, pay for a spinner rack to be there, Marvel. Pay for a display somewhere, DC. Let's see what happens. Evan, this has been awesome. We appreciate you being here.
Hey, anytime you guys need me, that's what I'm here for. Your DC Comics ambassador. I'm sorry, what was my title?
The DC Comics correspondent.
Yes, you're our correspondent.
So do I have to talk like that? Like, hello, this is Evan for our DC Comics correspondent.
We need a total 1940s thin man, Edward G. Robinson.
You got it.
Thank you. Thanks, Evan.
Thanks, guys.
All right, it's time for our underrated books of the week. Richard, you've got a good one.
Yeah, my pick is a book called Spider-Man 2, the second print from 2017. Spider-Man 2 was an opportunity for Marvel to have a transition or an introduction, let's say, because it wasn't really a transition, but an introduction of Miles Morales along with Peter Parker. So the two of them interact in this series, and there is some friction initially through it. So it's interesting to see the two of them both in the same book. The second print is identified by the blue trade dress, so it says Spider-Man 2 in blue as opposed to in white for the first print, and it's from what I could tell, it's a very, very small print run. The significance of the story for this book is this is the first appearance of Evil Miles. You could tell he's evil because he's got scars running through his face.
Have a goatee?
No goatee, but he's got the scars, and he's got that squint that evil people have. It's a trope, but it kind of works. So because you need a way of differentiating between Evil Miles and regular Miles. This book I did recommend earlier. There is another cover for this book. It's a Aspen Comics Virgin variant. It's Aspen Comics a version C if you're looking it up that way. And that has a gorgeous orange cover with Miles standing in his superhero pose. It's a great cover. I picked it at the time because of the cover, because I think that cover is really, really striking. I'm picking it this time though because I think Evil Miles may end up being a direction that it's a direction they could go in, and they could use this character again, since we are in a multiverse and we have this opportunity to pull in various versions of characters. This might be a storyline that could come along, and it's an opportunity to buy this book inexpensively. Now, the second print is fairly limited. I was doing a lookup on Comicron, and the number that I came up with was only a little bit more than 700 copies. So I'm not sure if that's inaccurate, but that's what Comicron was telling me. So it's a small print run. As a matter of fact, there are only 21 books on the census total, of which 15 are 9.8s. It's still a cheap book. The 90-day is $70. You can pick it up pretty under $100. Although the last sale was $115. So this is a nice book that I was finding raws for $25. So you can find them still on eBay. Again, it's a small print run, so your opportunities of buying this book might be limited. So in my opinion, if you do come across, and again, it's the blue label, issue number 1, I would grab for $25, $20. And I think it's a nice long box warmer that at some point we may see use of this particular character.
Yeah, stock that one all day. I'm with you on that. All right. My book is also very low in the census when it comes to the amount and the number. And you may have heard me talk about it on Friday when we guested on Elite Comics 11 at Con with our top underrated Bronze Age comics. And it is Marvel Premiere number 49, The First Solo Falcon. Now, people don't know about this book yet. This is a sleeper. As big as Falcon and the Winter Soldier is, and people excited about it, people have not glommed onto this yet. You still have an opportunity to get in early. It's got a beautiful Frank Miller cover, definitely under the radar. You can still grab raws on eBay under $50, but they are sure drying up quickly. Since I mentioned it Friday night on AtCon, 10 have sold, which is comparable to 3 the week before. 10 sold overnight. So not to say we're influencers or anything, but people are grabbing them up. There are only 10 9.8s on the CGC census. So we're going to see a lot more. I'm sure I'm submitting mine this week. I'm full transparency. I've got it ready to go. I've got to package it up and send her out, and I'll see it again in 2024.
You're being optimistic, aren't you?
I'm being optimistic, and that's fast track. So I'm very bullish on this book. We had some people on Instagram tag us after Friday night and say, "Hey, I found this in the dollar bin at my LCS. Please go check it out. You're going to find it. It is great. People don't know about it yet, so get in early." Do you have one, Richard?
I do not. I do not.
No. You know, the Falcon was always this also-ran sidekick, and they've done a really good job of making him cool and just rehabilitating his image. So I think we're going to see, we see it with Captain America 117. That book has exploded. I think this one's next.
Yeah, I and it well deserved too. I think the actor who's currently playing the Falcon is really, really making the role his own. And I think that's helping buoy up these prices as well.
And that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks again to Evan, our special DC Comics correspondent. Breaking news. And if you're not following us at Bronze and Modern Gods on Facebook and Instagram, please do so. Give us a like, subscribe. And until next time, we will see you.
Stay safe.